What is up, guys? I'm Get Flanked, and welcome to another episode of How to Rank Up from Gold to Platinum. This is a series on the channel that I give tips designed to help those silver, gold players take the next step. And I haven't made one of these episodes in a while, and I get a ton of requests for this series. But keep in mind, guys, that pretty much all of my tips that I make are designed to help that level of player, the silver, the gold, the low platinum player, because that's really where I play. And I think that's the level of skill that I can have the biggest effect on, are those players who play around that level. So even though they aren't necessarily how to rank up from gold to plat videos, most of my tips are designed to help players at this level. Now, with that said, whenever I do make episodes for this series, it's because I see something in the game that I feel really separates those silver and gold players from the platinum and higher players. And in this episode, we're going to be focusing on the defense side and setting up the map as a defender in order to give you an advantage later in the round. Now, the way that we're going to do it in this video is I'm going to show you a clip from a recent live stream where I am in the preparation phase setting up the map. After that, I'm going to go into a custom game and tell you why I set up the map the way that I did. And then I will go back into that clip, show you how the round plays out and how I use what I set up to give me an advantage during that round. Now, the reason that I really wanted to show this clip is because it's from PS4. And whenever I switch from PC to PS4, my aim is really rusty. And it's no different in this. You're going to see me potato specifically on the last kill, but I'm still able to have a good round because of the strat that I set up, because of the way that I set up the map. And I feel like there's a lot of players who are stuck in that gold level who have great gun skill. There's a lot of gold players that will shred you in a gunfight. And what they're lacking in and what's holding them back from taking that next step is setting up the map, setting up these individual strats that I'm going to show you in this video. And I think that there's a lot of players who, if they do this, if they start thinking about setting up the map instead of just I'm going to reinforce here and then I'm going to sit here and then I'm going to pull off this flank, if they start thinking about setting up the map a little differently and a little deeper, that they will take that next step, no doubt, because they have good enough gun skill to do it. And you're going to see in this clip how setting up the map can make up for not having good aim. And I am still able to have a good round because of it. Okay, so let's get into the clip. I'm going to let it play for the preparation phase, and then again, at the end of that prep phase, we'll go into a custom game. I'll explain myself, and then we'll come back to the clip. So I'm going to let it play. I apologize, the quality's not quite as good as what you're used to. Again, it's taken from my live stream, but again, this clip just sums up what I want to go over perfectly. All right, we're going to have the same hole set up here. Okay. Looking down main stairs. Are you going to play up there again, Maestro, or do you want...
No, I'll play this time.
Okay, alright.
So
Alright.
Reinforce, construction.
Yeah. 10 seconds. 5 seconds to insertion.
Oh, Twitch wrong was here. She destroyed the mute. I got the Twitch wrong. Mute, can you put another mute camera here, please? She destroyed it. Yeah, okay, I got the first Twitch wrong.
Okay, before we get into why I set up the map the way that I did, let me first say that this video isn't about these specific impact holes and this specific setup. It's more about a mindset of setting up the map on every different objective, every different map, in order to give you an advantage later in the round, okay? So don't get too hung up on the exact things that I do in this actual map and this objective. Instead, think about what you can do on other objectives and how you can bring your own flavor to this. And the easiest way to learn how to set up the map and how to get advantages like this is by learning from your deaths. When you see other people do things like this and you see lines of sight that they've opened up or something like that, then take note and use that later for yourself. So with that said, let's explain this. So the first thing you saw me do was put an impact right here. And right there, what I'm doing is I am opening up this line of sight on the stairs. So it's very common for the team to push these main stairs. It's also very common for people to do stuff like this. But the reason that you do this is because if I'm still alive on top floor as a roamer and they're trying to push these stairs, it's very difficult, okay? There's basically no way they can push this side down these stairs as long as somebody is alive up here. So it's going to make them have to clear this top floor, and that wastes time. I could get a couple picks in the process if they're trying to clear top floor, and it shuts down one of the more popular areas to pushing this objective, which is these main stairs. Okay, so that's really why I set that up. Now you'll notice when we get into the gameplay clips, I don't sit here at the beginning of the round and just watch this. Okay, I end up coming back to it later, but you'll see that in the gameplay. All right, the second thing that I did was in meeting, I set up a rotation on this soft wall. Okay, and here's why I do that. What that rotation right there does is it allows me to access any point on this map other than this main lobby and the garage without having to cross this big line of sight from main lobby and garage. And why that's important is because people will sit out here with a lot of cover and hold this line of sight looking this way. Okay, so if you're a roomer and you're trying to rotate into meeting hall or into big tower or to construction downstairs later in the round, if you don't have this rotation set up, then you have to cross this main line of sight right here, and there's usually a lot of people right here. So what that rotation does is if I'm playing over here in kitchen, which I do a lot, holding a line of sight like this, then now I can rotate to the big tower without having to cross that big line of sight. By going down these rear stairs, or I can go upstairs, whatever you want to do. That rotation sets up a lot of access to the rest of the map, again, just without having to cross this main line of sight here. So that's really my thought process with setting that stuff up. The first hole that I set up at the top of the stairs, I'm setting up to try and get kills later in the round. This is just an access point. This is just to give me access to the rest of the map so that I don't have to go to a place where there's very likely to be high traffic. So that's my thought process with setting up the map. Now let's get into the gameplay and you'll see how this plays out. Please don't let them have a jackal, please.
Mute, do you have another mute chamber?
What's the Ash working on right now?
If you do, put here. Right here?
There's one coming to get doors window. No, went through.
They got hatch open.
Okay.
One is coming to pick tower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are they smoking?
We've got a glass go into kitchen.
From where?
There's one on stairs, main stairs.
Opening meetings.
Blackbeard on main stairs.
Ivana is meeting.
Speaking where?
Blackbeard's on main stairs.
Careful, Maestro, we can't lose you, bro. The hatch is open.
Watch out, watch out. He's coming down now.
Because I need some over there.
There you
Blackbeard
go.
dead.
Like they're in meeting.
Oh, one speaking to main hatch.
Ivana dead.
Nice flank, you just saved me, bro. Oh my god.
Big tower stairs.
Big tower? Okay.
Yeah, glass. Don't rush, don't resist. It's glass. There's no fun fix.
One op 4 remaining.
Alright, job, fine.
Nice.
Call out where the last one's pushing.
Kobe. I don't know.
No idea.
Oh, my potato, he's on garage. He's on garage.
Garage.
He's where?
70 HP.
Garage.
Okay.
Garage. Oh, she's solid. Oh, if she goes to my stairs, flank killed.
Use that.
My stairs.
Oh my god.
Nice. No problem, man. Nice. Well played.
That was. Watch this potato. Whoop. Okay guys, so there you saw how I set up that map in the preparation phase directly resulted in me getting kills later in the round. That hole at the top of the stairs allowed me to get that final kill. The hole that I set up for rotation and meeting on that soft wall allowed me to rotate from upstairs through kitchen into meeting and cut off that glass as he was pushing from big tower into meeting. So that's really the gist of what I wanted to relay to you guys. Now, I can already see in the comments, there's going to be people who say, you know, this setup would never work against me, or, you know, you must have been playing against trash opponents. If I remember correctly, we were playing against all golds on the other team. And in order for you to go from gold to platinum, you got to beat some golds in order to get there. So this setup actually does work against that level of competition. I think I was playing with subs at this time, so I wasn't solo queuing, but I'm not playing with a familiar team. So keep in mind, guys, that stuff like this does work, but this video isn't about these exact spots. It's more for you to establish a mindset where you start setting up the map with your own flavor. And the easiest way to do that is to watch your kill cams, watch other players, the way that they set up the map. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It can just be a hole in the floor that gives you a line of sight on a window. Stuff like that is how you're going to give yourself an advantage during the round, especially on defense. You know, one of the previous episodes, we talked about journeying with a plan. This is kind of that same concept, but for the defensive side, setting up the map with a plan. The other thing I want to relay is that I didn't just sit on that hole on the top of the stairs from the beginning of the round. I set it up knowing I could come back to it later. And a lot of times I'm trying to lull them asleep. Maybe they journey it out. Maybe they see it. Maybe they initially cleared that area. Maybe they cleared upstairs while I was over there in small tower. But I know I'm going to come back to it after I lull them to sleep, after they think, hey, nobody's there, nobody's watching it. And then I can use it later in the round. Okay guys, that's going to do it for the video. Again, this is episode 4 in this series. Make sure you go back and watch the previous episodes if you haven't. Shout out to all the Twitch subs that I was playing with in the video. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate all your guys' support. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe, and I'll have more coming your way here soon.